Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positively here in the epicenter of crab cakeria. We're here at Faidley's at Lexington Market. We're in the new market. I am smelling Trinacri over here. I got Lumbini in the back, but I got that crab cake aroma. I've already had a crab cake with. Don't sleep on a cucumber salad down here. Whatever you do, make sure you get those big fat Western fries, those steak fries that come here, and make sure you get a candy cane cash scratch off from the Maryland Lottery. Brianna's about to get one here for being our guest as well. We've had the folks from Leftover Love stop by. We've had the folks from LTYC stop by. Love Drive, Leftover Love. And now I bring Brianna Rock in. She's with the SMART program. She's a supervisor of the violence prevention programs at Shock Trauma, which is a block and a half away. She came in. She was frozen. She was like, ah. And I'm like, you look like you walk. I mean, you look like you came in a sleeping bag over here, basically.
Yes.
But I almost parked my car at you. I mean, you're literally 2 blocks away.
2 blocks away.
You work here every day of your life.
Yes.
So you've been to Faidley's before?
Yes, I have.
All right, make sure I get you a crab cake before it gets all over.
I will.
So last week I gave this shout out, and I said I'm doing a cup of Super Bowl all week. I want community stories, charity stories, people doing good things in the community, and you showed up. So what is that? How did this happen, and what do you do here to prevent violence? And whatever you're doing, and I'll tell the mayor this, we're doing a pretty good job. We're getting better here in Baltimore, are we not?
Yes, we are.
We are.
We are.
Where are you from originally? You from here?
I'm from New Orleans in Florida.
All right. So you have been imported to help us.
I'm imported, yes.
They've exported you or we've imported you. What does the violence prevention program, what does that consist of, and what brought you to Baltimore and to Maryland?
So I actually came to Baltimore specifically because of what the city was doing around violence prevention. I have always been a huge violence prevention advocate and saw the programming that was at Shock Trauma and was just blown away because the programming at Shock Trauma, we are doing a public health approach to violence prevention programming. And so what does that even mean? That means we are not only trying to address violence after it has already happened, supporting the individual holistically, so not just wound care, but also getting legal help, getting assistance with mental health if that's something they're interested in, and then connecting them to our community partners. So we work with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, ROCA, ROAR, and a lot of other amazing community partners that really help us do our work successfully. And then additionally, we have programs like SMART and SMARTer, which is our prevention programming for individuals who may already be involved in some type of violence, and we're working to prevent the perpetuation of future violence.
How long have you been here in Baltimore?
I am about to make a year in Baltimore.
Oh, so you're really new to this.
I'm pretty new.
All right, so there was a young man named Brandon Scott who I met about 7 years ago who had just become city council president. I lived on the 23rd floor at Harbor Court.
Yeah.
And when the riots and the unrest happened, I saw the fireballs in the sky on East Baltimore from my roof, and it really inspired me to do Baltimore Positive. There's a reason I'm not just sticking to sports around here, and I'm not at the Super Bowl this week doing what I do.
Right.
But I'll call him Mayor Scott then, but he was just Brandon then. At the old location of Faidley's, I met him. It was literally the first week. I was the first show he did where he said, I'm going to run for mayor.
Yeah.
And he sat and talked to me about, and then when the murders were outrageous at the time, we were about to go into COVID.
Yeah.
We weren't even in COVID. It was the summer before COVID, literally. And it was actually the spring before COVID. Jack Young was running the city because Kathy Pugh was in prison or in handcuffs for Healthy Holly. And all these awful things were happening. But the most awful thing that was happening is people were getting murdered on the street every day here. And it was outrageous, and it was going on. And then COVID accelerated it, as everyone told me it would.
Right.
Like, there'd be less police, less everything, that there would be a problem. And Brandon said to me, we're going to have a different approach, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to sit, and I don't laugh at anybody, but I did sort of I said, hold on, you're going to sit down and talk to these people? Like, how's that going to, what, you're going to do what? You're going to say, now you better be good or we're really going to arrest you this time. And I'm like, how's that going to work? But I didn't grow up with a gun. I didn't grow up with violence. I grew up with parents. I mean, I had all of these. I had challenges, but certainly didn't have what I've seen other young people in this community.
Right.
The challenges that they had that I can't even get my arms around, needing a gun to protect myself or feeling that way at 12 years old, or whatever that would be, and what troubles lie on the streets of Baltimore that I didn't get myself into, but friends of mine did. I went to school with kids that are dead in jail, like all of that in Dundalk in the 70s. But I saw how pervasive it was, and I never watched The Wire, and David Simon knows that.
Yeah.
But you come at it differently because you're from the outside and saying, I went to school for this. I know we can help people. And when I try to explain to people why the murders are down, even I bring Mayor Scott here and explain it, it does not make sense outside of the Beltway that we need to sit and talk to these young people.
Yeah.
But it makes all the sense in the world. That's reasoning with people, even if they're unreasonable now. I got a lot of Trump people in my world. They're unreasonable. So I mean, it's you're trying to present information to help them. And I know that that's at the heart of what you do. Now, why is it working? Roca, all these names you're talking about, these are all things I've been talking about for a decade here.
Right.
Why is it working all of a sudden from somebody from the outside?
So from the outside coming in, like I said, that's exactly why I came to Baltimore, is Baltimore is doing the work in a way that makes sense. So I went to school for public health, and we always talk about the public health approach, but it's hard to fund the public health approach because prevention has longer term outcomes. You don't really see it really quickly, so the cost benefit of what funders are spending their money on isn't always pervasively present.
Where's the scoreboard right now?
Exactly. How many people did we affect today? So that's not
the
always
numbers
feasible.
are good now, right now.
They are, right?
Now we got numbers. Let's show them.
Exactly.
Don't be. And these people dismissing it, like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on now.
On top of that, making sure you were talking to the community that is impacted. So whether that's individuals that are impacted as families that have been victimized, as individuals that have been victimized, or as individuals that might be perpetuating the issue as well. By talking to those individuals, we see exactly what is needed to happen because you're including the population in what you're doing. And so that's exactly what Mayor Scott's approach has been, including not only the population, but the people on the ground and the organizations on the ground that have been doing the work. And then when you add hospitals on top of that, we have a very vast hospital-based violence intervention system. So there's Shock Trauma, Hopkins, MedStar, Sinai, and a few others that are all have hospital-based violence intervention programs. And so what happens is when somebody is injured, we meet them at the bedside and see exactly what they need and what supports we can give so that hopefully they are not either a future victim of violence or aren't going to perpetuate violence, because we unfortunately know that violence is cyclical.
Because the minute they get out of that bed, they want to go back and seek vengeance, correct?
Exactly. Them, their family. And it can also just be the fact that violence is cyclical in terms of if you've been injured once, your risk increase for being injured again.
Brianna Rock is here. She's educating me. She is the supervisor of the violence prevention programs at UMR Cowley Shock Trauma Center. That's a lot to read here. But it's right here in Baltimore. She's over at University of Maryland Medical Center. She's 2 blocks from where we are at Faidley's right now. So these numbers and, Mayor Scott, when he was city council president, Scott, sitting here and said, these are beefs, man. These are beefs. These are people who I'm going to get even with you, and you looked at my girl, or you said something, or you did this to me, or you stole that from me, or you didn't pay me for this, or it's a beef. It's literally, these were not people coming out shooting tourists, parking their car at Lexington Market, walking in to get a crab cake. That's not what was really going on. That carjackings, all of these kinds of things that we see, that's also part and parcel of all of this. And under 18-year-old crimes, very stigmatized on the outside. And what Ivan Bates and Ivan Bates needs to come on too. I've been chasing him around. Thank you for reminding me. Every time I see him, you come. We're gonna get it. But the law. People coming back from prisons into this city and trying to acclimate where nobody wants to hire them, nobody wants to give them a chance. It's the only life they know, falling back into that. These were all of this recidivism issues that a decade ago I talked about when you were a younger gal, before you were in New Orleans in Florida, before you arrived here. There's been a long history of all of this. You come at a time where, it feels like it really is on the upswing. What is your understanding of how it's gotten better
Yeah.
in programs like yours.
So it's gotten better because we are recognizing that, like, while you said there were beefs and all of those things, one of the things we're seeing now is violence. Unfortunately, anybody can be affected, right? So yes, there are beefs and things going on in the streets, but there's also individuals like at schools who are getting bullied and feel the need to have guns to protect themselves. There's domestic situations. There's all of these different varying types of violence, and a lot of it stems from the social determinants of health. So poverty, the ability to access health care, a lot of these other things. Education, exactly. So when you're able to, again, incorporate all of the different systems that have a play in those things, you're able to make an impact. And obviously, there's still work to do. As Mayor Scott always says, one person shot is too many. And so there's still definitely work to do, but positive movement is being made because now we are incorporating all of the systems that impact people. People are impacted usually by multiple systems at one time, whether it's courts, hospitals, whatever the case is. It's exhausting.
For the victim,
yes.
for the perpetrator, all the way
yes.
around, the legal system is very, very onerous.
It is.
Time, understanding, patience,
money, lawyers.
money.
Yeah.
And seeking some level of justice,
right?
And that's really what the violence is I'm going to get justice on my own. I'm going to come back and get even, right?
Because I don't trust the systems a lot of the time.
Fair enough. Well, and that's another issue, getting into my people and Venezuelans and immigration and ICE and just the fear that I can't trust, back to trust. I can't trust the police. I can't trust the system. I'm going to take it into my own hands.
Right.
And that's really where these murders happen.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, literally, they were people taking out justice or seeking vengeance in some way. How is that tempered a little bit by what you're doing at this point coming into this? What are you seeing when you talk to people here? And hopefully you're seeing less of these cases because we're having less of it, I hope.
Yeah, we are having less of it. I would say at Shock Trauma, our numbers are 18% of all of our annual admissions are violence related. So that's still a little too high for my liking.
1 in 5 hospital admissions is something that was trauma.
Violence.
Somebody hurt somebody. Right here, right now, hurt somebody.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. And so still too big of a number for my liking, but again, we're incorporating all of those systems. So at Shock Trauma, we also have a medical legal partnership where if an individual needs brief legal advice, an attorney, there's a lot of things that people don't realize that are the results of being a victim of violent trauma or a victim of a crime. So for example,
not to mention just being violated in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But another example is housing. We know that Baltimore doesn't necessarily have the most handy accessible housing or the most like a lot of the times people after their injury might be on a second floor and can't get up to their apartment, but might have landlords that don't want to break the lease, right? Because they're going to lose out of money. Having an attorney that is able to advocate for that individual as a survivor of violence has been super helpful because we've been able to not only get them out of that lease in a way that is not permanently on their record, because you talked about all of the things when...
You give me real life stuff. I love this.
Of course.
I mean, you get attacked, you're in the hospital, you get out, and you can't pay your bills.
Yeah.
And
you've been out of work.
Victimized.
Yeah, you've been out of work. Now you're victimized by systems and corporations and all of the things. And so as systems, what are we doing to help
I want to give you a hug for helping people. That's that's a very, that's a noble thing, because that's something I've never really thought about, that part of it,
Yeah, there's a lot of different aspects. Food, of course, housing, having to relocate if you were the victim and it was intended for you to be, unfortunately, not here anymore. There's people that need to move after their victimization. So when they're discharging...
So the person that tried to kill you will come back and try to finish the job.
So when they're discharging from the hospital, where do they go? And that's why
hopefully the person that hurt them is in prison.
One would hope, but not always.
But, that would be a goal. If somebody came in and hurt me right now, I like to think they're going to jail, right? I like Ivan Bates, I'd say that to him.
Yeah.
But all that being said, then what happens to his wife? And what happens to his family? And, I mean, the unintended consequences, once the egg's broken, right? And when it's violence and when it happens quickly, even if it's a car wreck, these things that I had a root canal last week, trust me, set me back a couple of days, right? I didn't plan on it.
Yeah.
Just started chewing and it hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
literally. But the next couple of days from anything, to have, we always call them wraparound services, right?
Exactly.
Like, and for people. By the way, Brianna Rock's here. She is here on behalf of our friends at UMMS. They're right around the corner. I got to get this up. Supervisor Violence Prevention Programs. LCSWC. What is all the MPH? What is all that? Miles per hour? What is all that? You have
It
a
is
title.
not miles per
You're a big deal, Brianna.
It
What
is
this?
not miles per hour. That is Masters of Public Health and Licensed Certified Social Worker Clinical.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, if I get any problem, I'm going to have you because you're so nice and
That
I would
works.
trust you.
Well,
they
thank
teach you to do
you.
this? They teach you how to be nice when
They
you went to
can't
college?
teach you everything, but they taught me some.
Well, I would think that on a daily basis, you find people at the worst part, at the worst lows.
Yeah.
So you're like a priest. I mean, you're like literally you're trying to. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Literally, that's your job, right?
And it's doing things in a trauma-informed way. That is a buzzword. But what I mean by that is like when somebody is coming at you and yelling in your face because they have been traumatized and victimized.
You can't yell back.
I don't take it personal.
Compassion.
Exactly. Nobody wants to come to the hospital, let's be honest. Nobody wants to come see me at my job by being a person in the bed that I'm going to see.
I am GBMC sponsored, so my thanks to GBMC. I had a colonoscopy in November, okay? I had the doc on. Dr. Oscari saved my life. I had a cancerous polyp, right? Just back in November. I didn't know it until the surgery was over or the procedure was over.
Yeah.
You drink the thing, bad things happen, like all that.
Right.
I'm 57. I had never had one until November. And, I went that day, and I've had a finger cut off when I was 3, so I have, I have some weird, like even in my root canal, I'm an awful patient. My wife would, my wife's been through everything, been to hell and back. She's a good patient. She doesn't dread going and getting needles. She doesn't dread going to the doc. She didn't like it.
Right.
But she's not like, I would say fearful, but certainly, I'm not fearful. I don't think they're going to kill me. I just know it's going to hurt. And it involves this psychological thing from the time probably I had my finger cut off when I was 3. Poor Dr. Ascari that morning when I went in. First off, I'm pooping myself. I'm sick as a dog.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten anything. I'm brutal. I probably did not have good bedside manner at all. I know I didn't.
Yeah.
Because my wife told me when I got home. And I'm having Dr. Ascari on this month just to apologize to him for being such a jerk at the hospital.
Yeah.
But there is a point where you almost can't help yourself when you're getting shot up. They're needling you.
Yeah.
You're throwing up. You're sick. It's not pretty.
No.
I think dealing in medicine in any way.
No.
But I think there's a compassion part of that everyone in the medical space has to have.
Yeah.
And as bad of a patient as I am, I'm certainly not the worst, right? But I can't imagine being shot, having something happen, being there under a circumstance that you would feel angry just being there.
Right.
And then you come in and say, I want to help you.
Yeah.
You've seen the worst of, you're
So
all those initials you got back there added up to something there.
So my staff are the frontline staff. They are the ones that are going in the room, and exactly what you said. They are going into our TRUE, which stands for our Trauma Resuscitation Unit. As soon as somebody is brought in via helicopter or by the ambulance, they wait for them to be medically stable, and then they go see them to see what resources, support, guidance with all of these systems that they need. But sometimes they're not always met with the nicest response, right? Because I'm sorry, if I just got injured overnight and I came in and it's morning and I've had nurses and social workers and doctors and all of the people coming to my bed, and then you have someone that's
my wife was diagnosed 12 years ago next month with leukemia.
Yeah.
So she checked herself into Hopkins. We sat there in the overnight. She Googled it. She said, I think I have leukemia. I'm like, don't talk like that. Like, that's like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
The next day we came in, the doctor came in at 5 o'clock, shut the door and said, you have leukemia. You have the worst kind of leukemia that I've seen. I can't even identify it. And we're there and what do we do? Google it? They put a handbook on the, where do you go at that moment? Mentally, spiritually. I've been in that room and I remember calling the doctor the Grim Reaper. And he said, please don't say that to me. And I thought to myself, that wasn't nice.
Yeah.
But every time you come in here, the news gets worse.
Right.
Dude. My wife might die. I'm freaked out.
Exactly.
Right? So dealing with me was a handful 12 years ago as the caregiver who was not going to die in the bed, but worried about the person I love the most in the world dying. Right. So My wife spent 155 nights in Hopkins.
Wow.
2 bone marrow transplants. I had charge nurses.
Yeah.
I had them bring her bouillon when she was neutropenic and couldn't put food in.
Right.
And they brought her a tablet and boiling water and called that a meal.
Yeah.
I went down to the Chinese place and got her some proper chicken broth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I bitched about the food and how
Yeah.
awful it was and how it made her sick. Like, advocacy inside the hospital.
It's important.
I was the prick that you had to deal with who was edged out of his mind watching his wife die.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now we're here.
Yeah.
And she didn't get shot. She had a
Yeah.
different kind of trauma, but she might as well have got shot.
Yeah.
There's nothing she could do about it. She was
Exactly.
glued there. She couldn't leave. We called it the hotel.
Yeah.
She spent 44 days in the hospital the first day she checked in, didn't even have the bag.
Wow.
Get to say goodbye to the cat.
Right,
And then they
right.
send her home and say, go on with your work. We're going.
And it's not
My
that
wife
simple.
could have used mental counseling
Yeah.
for years
Yeah.
after her trauma.
It's not that simple because think about the exact moment you're told what's going on. And usually, like, then sometimes you are staying inpatient, but sometimes you're told to leave. Like, the hospital is done with you. Your wound is technically healed.
Your cancer's
but-
fixed. Go home.
Exactly. But that is
Yeah.
what at Shock Trauma we're really working to do is, like, address the individual holistically because we know, especially with victims of violence, but any victim of trauma, right? There's all of these other repercussions that come along with it. Medical PTSD, PTSD in general, other mental health diagnoses, and even if it's not to the point where it's a mental health diagnosis, there's just the transition back into quote unquote normal life, and how do you handle that, and what does that look like now? Because unfortunately life is not normal anymore. Now you have this information or this diagnosis that you never had before, and you have to move forward with that. And so how can my team be a support for those individuals when they're having to move forward?
My wife had 2 bone marrow transplants. She's genetically completely not the same person.
Genetically,
so
right.
therefore, she's not the same person.
No.
Nobody ever prepared her
For that.
For that.
Right.
Literally.
Or what might healing look like down the line? Like, yeah, maybe they'll tell you like 5 days from now, but what about a couple months from now, a couple years from now, when it snows? Do her bones hurt? Like, things like that. There's all of these different things that we need to think about in terms of treating the whole person.
All right. Well, she's here to untraumatize me. Brianna Rock's here. She's with Maryland Medical Systems right across the street. She's at Shock Trauma, as they say, and the helicopters come in and they go out. I live downtown. I saw them all the time, saving lives there. She's with the Violence Prevention Program. She's a supervisor over there on behalf of SMART and the SMART team. I feel smarter.
Good.
What does SMART stand for?
It stands for Saving Maryland's At-Risk Teens.
Hold on. Saving Maryland's At-Risk Teens.
Yes.
T-E-N-S, right? Not teams. All right.
Yep.
We're doing okay, right?
We're doing
getting
okay.
better?
We're getting better.
Because we imported you from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Where were you during the storm, Katrina?
I was actually not there, so I was in Florida at that point.
Okay. I was in New Orleans the day before the storm.
Wow.
The Ravens played a preseason game at the Dome
Yeah.
on a Thursday night, and we were supposed to spend the whole weekend because it's New Orleans. And we're going
Right.
to do, go to Emerald's, go to the Acme
Do all the
Oyster
things.
House, have some hurricanes. I don't like hurricanes, but but I would get a big burger at the Portico
Yeah.
down there. Yeah, damn right.
Portico,
Damn right I
yes.
would. So we're in New Orleans, and it was 130 degrees, and
Yeah.
you could sweat just looking out the window. And the Ravens played this preseason awful game with nobody in the Dome. There's 8,000 people in the Dome. And my wife was dressed in, like, floss. She had nothing on. And she's in the Dome, and she's frozen at halftime, and it's a friggin' preseason game. So we left the Dome. She's like, man, I want to go. It's too cold in here. I got to leave. I'm like, all right, it's halftime of a preseason game. We'll leave. So we left. We walked down onto Bourbon. We walked down the street, whatever that side street is, Magazine, whatever it is, where Acme Oyster House is. We went in, and we ordered fried shrimp, same ones I'm going to get at Casas on Friday. And we looked up on the TV, and the 10 o'clock news comes on. You'll speak to this because in New Orleans, there's no 11 o'clock news.
Yep.
It's a 10 o'clock news. And I remember the Steelers were playing the Redskins, and a preseason game was on, and the preseason game went away, and Channel 10 or whatever it was in New Orleans, the news comes on. And, like, we're in there drinking beer on a Friday night. It's Friday night. Thursday night, Friday. It was Friday night. It was Friday night. I looked up, and it's like, get out. Like, the news was like, leave. It was 10 o'clock news. And I said to my wife, I'm like, they're saying we should leave. There was no hurricane coming when we left.
Right.
When we got on the plane and flew down there on Thursday,
No
we
hurricane.
There was no hurricane. This is a bomb tornado, that thing, right? And Friday night, I walked out onto Bourbon Street, literally with my phone, and I called Southwest Airlines, and the woman says, "Would you like to leave on the 9 a.m. or the 3 p.m.?" And I'm like, "Give me the 9 a.m." We changed our flight, and at 6 in the morning, we woke up at the JW Marriott on Canal, and the newspapers were piled up at 5 a.m., and we got a cab, got in the cab, got to the airport, and left.
Yeah.
And when we landed in Baltimore, the city was in chaos.
Yeah.
We left within 4 hours of being trapped.
Yeah.
And my wife's diabetic, and there were no cars, and the windows were all blown out. Like, it really unbelievable serendipity that we weren't there. But, like, for you to not be there and everyone that you love to be there, you talk about trauma. Woo!
That's a lot.
There was no trauma like New Orleans trauma back in 06.
Right.
That's real trauma for a city, right?
Exactly.
So I thought maybe that affected you to want to do this kind of work 20 years later.
It did.
Because you feel young to me, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago, Katrina, right?
It is,
You were a young lady then. So, I mean, did you go back to participate in any of the trauma there?
To help it?
Yeah, but I mean, I see you as someone that probably was moved by that part of your life, I would say, to do what you did.
Definitely. I was. That's actually why I went to school there as well.
See, I knew. It was a good guess.
I went to Tulane University because I wanted to, again, help a community that was really impacted by trauma.
I would have gone for the beignets is what I would have gone.
Okay, that was second. But
that's not where Todd Schuler went, but I got friends that were Tulane people.
Yeah.
He said he went down for law school. I'm like, nah, you went for the party. Could have gone to law school anywhere.
That's true.
Well, New Orleans is great. So you're original? You're legit?
No, so I'm from Florida originally.
Oh, you're not from New Orleans.
I just move around.
Okay. See, I saw you
wherever
as a New Orleans
the wind
person
takes
or something
me
for some reason.
Well, I am. I was there for 8 years. If you know anything about New Orleans, that's home now.
8 years is a lifetime.
Exactly.
Anybody that ever lives in New Orleans calls it home. It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
I got a friend in Baltimore that still thinks of New Orleans home. He was born here and lives here now. But he's like, oh, New Orleans, yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah, Florida Lee and all that. We got Mardi Gras coming up. Hey,
I know.
Yesterday was the 13th anniversary of the greatest thing New Orleans ever did for Baltimore, which is winning our Super Bowl. So 13 years ago yesterday, Joe Flacco. Yeah, we.
See, look at the kismet that's happening right here.
We shut down Canal Street, man. We ripped it up down there 13 years ago. Brianna Rock is here. She's with University of Maryland Shock Trauma. She is helping people, and she's helping educate us. What can people do to participate? You guys still have balls, and you have fundraisers. You do all sorts of cool stuff,
Yeah, so
right?
we do fundraisers. We haven't had a ball specifically for victims and survivors of violence, but they do have...
There's a shock trauma thing.
There is a shock trauma ball, and there's also a shock trauma Orioles game that people can help fund with. If you are a runner, they do a run, which should be coming up soon. I think it actually just passed in February. So if you missed it this year, you can go next year.
I'll hand out drinks at the end. That's okay.
Yeah, they have. Oh, you'll hand out drinks.
I'll hand out the drinks at the end.
You'll have some drinks too.
I'll hand some out.
Okay, plead the fifth.
I won't drink the profit.
But actually, if you were there, you may have seen my director. He actually ran in pink scrubs to support shock trauma.
All right. Well, I like that.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate all the lives you save and all the good stuff you're doing over there.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming over on short notice. And I mean, I'll drive you back over if you're going to freeze on the way over.
No, that's okay. I need to get my steps in.
You look tough to me.
Thank you.
Last name's Rock.
Exactly. I have to keep to my namesake.
Like rock music. That's a great name. Rock's a great name. Brianna Rock is here. She's with Shock Trauma over at Maryland. I want to give thanks to our friends here at Faidley's as well as Leftover Love. Omar stopped by. We had a great visit with Dr. Jamel Brunson from LTYC, and they're doing a love drive. So I got love, and even more love here, and a candy cane cash giveaways from our Maryland Lottery partners. And we're going to be doing a Cup of Super Bowl all week long. On Tuesday, we're going to be at El Guapo in Catonsville. Wednesday, we're at Coco's in Lauraville. Thursday, back to Essex and Pizza John's. And then on Friday, I will be at Costas in Timonium. Come and receive free candy cane cash scratch-offs. If you've got giveaways for the Maryland Food Bank, I will be around for that as well. We're going to be educating folks about that later on. We're going to have some visitors from the Maryland Food Bank later on in the week talking about feeding people and making the world a better place. It is a cup of soup or bowl. We're back for more from Faidley's. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore